Cars are cars all over the world. Cars are cars all over the world. Engine in the front, jacks in the back. Wheels take the front, pinion and a rack.
This was the seemingly magical touch that Bill Elliott applied to his mysterious Grand National machine on pit road at the Daytona International Speedway moments ago. This car, number 9, has been so dominating that the drivers pursuing him now know the line, cars are cars, is a lie in 85. Now on the pace lap, pistons are pumping, parts are too, as everybody in the field chases Bill Elliott. Hi, everybody. I'm Al Troutwick. Welcome to Daytona and the Firecracker 400. Working with me is Sam Posey. And Sam, this Elliott victory march has been a big surprise.
Well, exactly, Al. Elliott's crushing superiority. Remember, he's won 7 out of 14 of the races held so far this year. Comes at a time in racing history where it was thought this sort of thing couldn't happen. Sure, 10 or 15 years ago, Petty or Pearson might occasionally run up the hot streak, but not today, thought, when the cars are so closely matched and the team's so equal. Now, a mid-season rules change affecting the engine in force for the first time in this race. We thought that perhaps that would upset the Elliott apple cart, but as you can see, it hasn't. He's on the front row once again and with a new record speed. Now, all hot streaks have to come to an end eventually, and it's quite possible that the man with whom he shares the front row today, Cale Yarborough, a 4-time winner of this race, might be the man to do it.
It is early morning on Florida's East Coast, but already the temperature 85 degrees, and that will wreak havoc with the engines and cars and drivers as they streak around the tri-oval at Daytona. The pace car is away. We are ready to unfurl the green at the 27th running of the Firecracker 400. It is underway, and already Bill Elliott, the man from Dawsonville, Georgia, is out in front of this 41-car field. Richard Petty sliding into 5th place. His 48th birthday only 2 days ago. Petty going down low. Cale Yarborough is also in the middle of that pack. And Richard Petty streaks into 2nd place. But already Elliott 5 car lengths in front. And that will be the theme today on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Return you to the Daytona International Speedway and the running of the Firecracker 400. No big surprise with the leader. It is number 9, Bill Elliott. Chasing him is Neil Bonnet, number 12. Dale Earnhardt currently running with a cracked windshield. Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison round out the top 5. The blue and white car, number 90, belongs to Ken Schrader. He is right now in front of Bill Elliott, but he is a lap car, 1 lap off the pace. As they streak into turn 1 here at the tri-oval in Daytona, Bill Elliott is in front, and the heat already a problem, not only in the cockpit, well over 120 degrees, but in the engine compartment as well. Many cars have dropped out. The star of the attrition rate has been Cale Yarborough. His transmission seized a few laps earlier, and the 4-time champion of the Firecracker 400 is out of this running.
Well, you know, Al, it's expected that we might see a lot of engine problems during this race, at least in part because of this new restrictor plate in the carburetor that limits the amount of air going into the engine. These are the new rules that I spoke of. The idea is to choke off the air going into the engine, limit the horsepower a little bit, and slow the speed. But right now, Bill Elliott is lapping at over 193 miles an hour, which is only a couple of miles an hour off what he lapped at here in the Daytona 500 during the winter when it was cooler and you'd expect speeds to be higher. So it really has not had much effect among the top running teams who figured out how to get around this new carburetor rule.
Sam, the last lap clocked at better than 192 miles an hour, and currently in 2nd place, number 12, Neil Bonnet. As these cars roar out of the 3,000-foot backstretch, throttles open full, and into turn 3. It is still the family-tuned Ford of Bill Elliott in front. It has left egos shattered and heads shaking along pit roads throughout the Super Speedway NASCAR circuit this year. 7 times victorious in 14 races, domination that is completely unexpected.
Yeah, and nobody is getting to find out what the Elliott secrets may be either, Al. They keep
trouble in turn 1. Richard Petty and Tim Richmond have collided coming out of the tri-oval. That is Tim Richmond's car screeching along the pavement. Richard Petty has crossed the track and is currently in the infield.
Well, it's hard at this point to discern what might have happened. You see Richmond's car finally coming to a stop. There's some debris from Richmond's car. There he is. He looks okay. Now look at how steep the banking is here. You can really see it as he runs down there. 31 degrees. There's Richard Petty being led away. You see his car rumple-wrecked there at this point, a far cry from the way it looked last year. This is just 3 laps from the end. Richard Petty and Cale Yarborough racing for the lead. A yellow flag was out because a car had crashed, and under NASCAR rules, you then race to the line for the win. Petty, as you can see, knows Yarborough by no more than a couple of feet, getting his 200th NASCAR win, and that car was inducted just yesterday into the Smithsonian Institution. Of course, this one, I think, is going to be inducted into a local junkyard.
As a result of the crash, the pit crews are frantic. All the cars are in the pits, and that will change the leaderboard dramatically. The color is yellow, the mood is cautious at the Firecracker 400. On pit road, the field is jumbled as we're ready for green once again in the Firecracker 400. And with the restart, Benny Parsons leads the field out of the trioval here in Daytona. Dale Earnhardt, number 3, in second. Kyle Petty looking still for his first Grand National win in third. Neil Bonnet, number 12, in fourth. And Bill Elliott has restarted this race in fifth position.
And Kyle Petty, now, who you see here running in third place, of course, saw the accident involving his father and Tim Richmond, so that may be working on his mind a little bit right now.
Elliott slides out of the draft. He wants to make a move. This will be a strong test for the 4 cars who are feeding him. Right now, he's side by side with Neil Bonnet. And now Elliott slides into the draft. He'll be moving into 4th position. It is now still Benny Parsons, Dale Earnhardt, and Kyle Petty as they approach the trioval and the start-finish line here in front of a crowd estimated at 75,000. Lead changes now as these cars thunder into turn 1. Dale Earnhardt, who started amazingly in 18th position, has moved in front. Benny Parsons, removed from the draft, is sliding behind as Bill Elliott moves into third. And now it is Earnhardt, Petty, and Elliott as these cars prepare to cover the backstretch of 3,000 feet in 10 seconds.
And Elliott making another move up on the inside, blocked momentarily there by Kyle Petty, who now takes the lead as Bill Elliott moves down inside Dale Earnhardt and into second place.
Kyle Petty takes his Thunderbird into first position. His dad, a winner 10 times on his Super Speedway. He still looks for win number 1, but he says this week, and at this time, he has never felt better behind the wheel of a Grand National stock car.
You mentioned Al Petty's Thunderbird. Of course, Bill Elliott is in the Thunderbird as well, but these are really, this is confusing because it's only the bodies of these cars that are similar in any way to normal passenger cars that you could get in the showroom. The rest of the car, chassis, suspension, everything, built purely for racing.
Thunderbirds 1 and 2, Petty and Elliott steps aside from Petty and tries to pass him in the backstretch as they skim the shores of Lake Lloyd. Elliott back in front. It took him only 3 laps following the caution. And a surprise in third, a research and development unsponsored car. Greg Sachs is there. Kyle Petty still following Bill Elliott. His dad crashed earlier and has emerged from the Monaco Care Center. Here's Sam Posey in the pit.
It's been a long time since you've had a crash in which you got hurt, 10 years or more.
Well, it's been a long time. We've been real fortunate, and it's just like falling off a chair and getting hurt or something. This is a minor deal. What really hurts you is when you run good and then you tear your car up. I think that hurts more than the actual wounding of your body.
Richard's son Kyle being challenged in the backstretch as Greg Sachs slides in front and almost loses it. Kyle Petty now drops behind, and Neil Bonnet's Chevrolet is right behind Greg Sachs. We will be back for more racing later from Daytona. Cars began. Only 24 cars remain in the 27th running of the Firecracker 400 here at the Super Speedway at Daytona. Right now, it is Bill Elliott, number 9 in front, followed by Greg Sachs, a major surprise. Then it is Kyle Petty, Terry Labonte, and Dale Earnhardt. I'm Al Troutwig along with Sam Posey in what has now become a 2-car race as Sachs and Elliott have opened up a 3.5 to 4-second lead on the field. Current round trips of this raceway being clocked at better than 193 miles per hour. And now Greg Sachs, a New Yorker, what a rare event that is, challenging Bill Elliott for the lead in the Firecracker 400. And Sachs has moved in front. The 32-year-old from Madison, Long Island, New York, has challenged the superstar Ford and has taken the lead and now begins to muscle by Bill Elliott as they soar by the grandstand. How envious so many of the drivers in assembly here today must be of Greg Sachs. He has done what they have been trying to do. Greg Sachs in front of Bill Elliott. Sam Posey's in the pit to get some answers.
I'm with Gary Nelson, the crew chief on the Sachs car. Gary, your car carries no sponsorship of any kind, and it's being driven by a driver relatively unknown in this sport, and yet you're leading the race. What's going on here?
Well, we're real happy. This is an experimental car. We put a lot of new ideas in that we've always wanted to try, but it's a big gamble to try them on Bobby's number 22 car.
Bobby Allison's car.
Right. If it didn't work, we could go back further, but we were able to gamble, no sponsor to answer to. You know, we were able to say, okay, the wildest thing we can think of, we're going to do on this car. And it looks like it's paying off, at least here at Daytona. We're happy.
What are a couple of the things you did? It seems to be working.
I don't want to tell you that.
That's fair enough.
So Gary Nelson's not saying anything, and they're not saying anything in the Elliott pits either as to what they've done to these cars to make them roar ahead of the field. Greg Sachs and Bill Elliott perhaps should have two big question marks on the side of their cars as opposed to the number 10 and number 9 that we see as they streak along the 31-degree banking in turn 3. Sachs, a 32-year-old from Manitowoc, Long Island, New York. His dad owns a produce business in the New York City area, and they were able to put $750,000 into his attempt at a racing career last year. Sachs, well known on the modified circuit in the Northeast, is currently leading in the big time, the Grand National Firecracker 400. Elliott still following in the draft of Greg Sachs, but these two cars have now opened up a 5-second lead on the rest of the pack, the leader of which is number 7, Kyle Petty.
Well, I think the point is that while Greg Sachs may be relatively new to all this, his crew chief, Gary Nelson, certainly isn't. He was Bobby Allison's crew chief the year Bobby won the championship. He's a superb strategist. We'll be back in a moment.
Cale Yarborough piloted this Chevrolet to victory in the Daytona 500. Now, a little bit more than a year later, the firm grip on the steering wheel does not belong to Cale, but to a 32-year-old relative unknown, Greg Sachs of Manitowoc, New York. Now, most of the other drivers have decided that this is the point to hit pit road in the Firecracker 400, and Greg Sachs has made his decision to move down to the pit, and his relatively new crew. They've been together for only a week. We'll get a chance to see how they work now.
Of course, Al, their inexperience stands in stark contrast to the experience of Gary Nelson, their crew chief. But these guys were just thrown together in the last week or so, and suddenly they have to perform under unbelievable pressure.
Amidst all that activity, a man from New Zealand who's never seen a Grand National race, and a former fullback with the Boston College football team. Fuel and tires on the right side, and Greg Sachs is back out onto the racetrack here in Daytona. But now the leaders will shift around and move a little bit. Bill Elliott will be in first position as Greg Sachs rejoins the field. That is Elliott roaring by him at top speed coming out of the tri-oval. Bill Elliott is in first. Greg Sachs has maintained second position. Terry Labonte, and then Kyle Petty in fourth spot.
But when they say that the pit stops can be decisive, there's your example right there, because, of course, these two cars, Elliott and Sachs, were very close together until it came time for the pit stop. Now Bill Elliott has a decisive lead once again.
The roar of the engine, the smell of fuel, and a comfortable lead for Bill Elliott. He is now at peace with himself, trying to escape a world that has changed dramatically over the past 7 months. Everyone wants a piece of Bill Elliott now, because when they say his name, they also say superstar, and he doesn't like it.
I don't consider myself superstar or anything else. You know, I just like to be myself, and whatever I am, you know, that's what I'll be. But, you know, it is pretty hard to be, you know, in the public eye, you know, everywhere you go out, you know, you need to be nice to everybody. And it's a lot of times hard to be yourself. That's one part of it that it's always been a little bit hard, because you get put in certain situations that you really can't be yourself. And that's what I hate about it, is sometimes you put in situations where you just can't really be yourself.
Under those circumstances, of course, I guess the car becomes kind of the one place you can be yourself.
Well, it is. You know, used to, I thought it was the hardest thing to get in the car, but now I feel like that's the easiest place to get, because it gets me away from all the other worries I've got and things I got to think about.
Bill Elliott still in front, but Greg Sachs is closing. A report from the Elliott pit crew is that Bill Elliott has a vibration developing inside his car. Just what effect that may have on his completion of this race is unknown, but Greg Sachs is making up tremendous time, and Sam, this car has a lot of muscle of its own.
Well, yeah, it certainly does, Al, but can you imagine being in Greg Sachs' position? By the way, notice how loose they call it. The Sachs car is. It wobbles and wiggles in the turns. Elliott is stable unbelievable by comparison. What I was going to say is, though, imagine that you were Greg Sacks right now. This is the moment, the opportunity of a lifetime. He must be as astonished as we are to find himself trailing Bill Elliott at this close range. But, of course, we're just watching. He's got to drive the car and keep that excitement in check so that it doesn't lead to a mistake.
It's almost an exact replay of what we had so many laps ago. Greg Sacks chasing Bill Elliott, waiting for the correct moment to make his move to claim the lead of the Firecracker 400. That, of course, assuming that Sacks' car has the power to make that move. Now the heat continues to build on the racetrack here in Daytona. The top speed around this course now at under 190 miles an hour. Bill Elliott and Greg Sacks leading. We know Elliott has to make one more pit stop. We're not quite sure about Greg Sacks. So much a mystery inside the shell of that car. Neil Bonnet and Kyle Petty trail those two leaders. 25 miles remaining in the Firecracker 400. Number 9, Bill Elliott is the leader. Number 10, Greg Sacks, who had the lead briefly, is back in second as a result of his scheduled pit stop. Dale Earnhardt, number 3, in front of the leaders, and Terry Labonte behind them in number 44 are one lap off the pace. Fans here in Daytona probably still grabbing for their programs, trying to figure out just who number 10 is. He is 32-year-old Greg Sacks in a research and development car from Dyguard Racing. Sacks has been challenging Bill Elliott for most of the afternoon, and for quite a stretch actually led here. Then dipped into the pits, and when he returned, he was in second spot and has held that position for quite some time. We have had a report of a vibration in Bill Elliott's number 9 Ford, and we are wondering just what the problem is and what effect it may have on his car. All 600 horses pumping in the car of Bill Elliott. He is still being pursued quite strongly by Greg Sacks, number 10. Remember, Earnhardt, right there, the leader in your screen, is one lap behind the pace. Now, we know the engine of Greg Sacks' car is strong and that the driver is confident, but we do not know what the absence of experience will do to the effort of Greg Sacks down the stretch of the Firecracker 400. Remember, Bill Elliott, we believe, has to make another pit stop. We do not know about Greg Sacks, but we will shortly. The heat continuing to build here in the east coast of Florida and inside these automobiles. Better than 120 degrees. Some of the drivers in the Firecracker 400 today, Bill Elliott among them, are wearing new cooling helmets, hoping to keep a cooler head inside that car. Shortly, we will know whether cooler heads will prevail here in Daytona. Greg Sacks slides in front of Bill Elliott, who drops down low. Remember, the car behind those two, Terry Labonte, is not involved in this front-running race. Greg Sacks, once again, is the leader in the Firecracker 400. And what crazy thoughts must be flashing through the mind of Greg Sacks, who is leading for the first time in his career this late in the race. Remember, problems in Bill Elliott's car as he pulls into the pit. Here's Sam Posey down in there.
All right, Al, this is the pit stop the Elliott hoped they would not have to make. Under the green, coming out of the lead with just 8 laps to go. Elliott forced into the pits by the need for fuel. You see they're doing only a fuel stop, nothing else. They did not change the tires or anything. Let me have a word with Ernie Elliott. Ernie, just fuel. You can make the rest of the distance now. What's the word on Greg Sacks? Do you think he's going to have to stop?
Oh, no, they won't have to stop. You know, we got a vibration in the car and hurt our fuel mileage for some reason.
Okay, thanks very much.
Sam, you know the Elliots spent upwards of 18 hours a day trying to figure out the new carburetor rule in NASCAR and prepare for this Firecracker 400. You know that they work to get every ounce of fuel into miles per hour and miles on this track, only to be beaten by this strange vibration, as mysterious as the engine itself in Bill Elliott's car. Greg Sacks is in front, sandwiched by 2 drivers that are off the pace. Terry Labonte, number 44, in front. Dale Earnhardt behind. But still, it is Greg Sacks leading the Firecracker 400. Only a handful of laps remain. Following Greg Sacks, but now about 10 seconds off the pace, are number 12, Neil Bonnet, Darrell Waltrip, and number 15, Ricky Rudd. Bill Elliott, number 9, has dropped down to 5th position. He'll be racing and pushing that car for everything it has, trying, if possible, to catch Greg Sacks. Only a few laps to go. In 5 laps, approximately 12.5 miles remaining in the Firecracker 400. And still, it is Greg Sacks in front, who is drafting with Terry Labonte 1 lap off the pace. Following Sacks, that is Neil Bonnet. Bill Elliott, who has made up a tremendous amount of time after his pit stop to get some fuel. Darrell Waltrip in 4th, and Ricky Rudd is in 5th. Sam Posey is in the pit.
Gary, there's 5 laps to go. Are you going to have to stop?
We've never really experimented with this fuel cell too much. We're going to gamble on it.
By our calculations, that means you will have been out for 39 laps. That's really pushing it.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty safe gamble considering where we are. We're having a heck of a time in the pits, so we're better off to stay on the racetrack and gamble on the gas.
Good luck to you.
Gary Nelson, a very smart man. Perhaps the best move he's making right now is not to make a move. He's, of course, referring to his ragtag pit crew that has been together for only a week. They resemble perhaps the Bad News Bears, who were a little sloppy, but in the end were winners. Number 12 in second place still is Neil Bonnet, but he trails Greg Sachs by about 11 seconds with only 3 laps remaining in the Firecracker 400. This is the playground of drivers like Fireball Roberts, Donnie Allison, Leroy Yarborough, Cale Yarborough, Neil Bonnet, Buddy Baker, Richard Petty. Somehow the name Greg Sachs does not seem to fit. But Greg Sachs is trying to change all that with a front-running play he's making right now.
Less than 3 laps to go now, Al. You know, really, Bill Elliott wasn't a known name a couple of years ago either. There's a changing of the guard that's going on right now in NASCAR. Lots of new names.
Neil Bonnet is on pit road. He was running in second position, but now just needing a few gallons of fuel to finish out this race. But that will remove him from contention. As a result, Bill Elliott, number 9, moves into second place. But he trails Greg Sachs by more than 18 seconds now. This powerful machine of Zygarde Racing is really showing its stuff this afternoon. So many of the drivers now, as Greg Sachs is under 2 laps to go. So many of the drivers came here to Daytona thinking they had to chase Bill Elliott. They may leave the east coast of Florida thinking, oh no, now we have to chase Greg Sachs too. Remember, number 44, Terry Labonte, is 1 lap behind the pace. But the way Greg Sachs is on his tail, you have to wonder, does he know he is in first place? Or does he believe Labonte is in front of him? We had a report moments ago that the radio communication between the pit crew of Greg Sachs and the car was not functioning. It's been a long time since he went to the pits, and perhaps in the confusion of lead changes, he hasn't realized that he is in front. And as Labonte and Greg Sachs come out of turn 4, preparing to take the white flag, this last lap could prove interesting if that's the case. Meanwhile, in the Greg Sachs pits, they're believing that they have this race won. Sachs' wife, Victoria, was there with her fingers crossed. Sachs now moving alongside of Labonte. He certainly is making moves which indicate he believes he needs to finish in front of Labonte. The last lap of the Firecracker 400. Greg Sachs, without question, has removed some of the headline potential from Bill Elliott today. Labonte still in front of Greg Sachs. It would take the unbelievable. Sachs is moving high alongside Labonte, way close to the wall. That definitely confirms it. There is no way Sachs would make such a move if he felt he was in front. But now, even in his own mind, Greg Sachs is the winner of the Firecracker 400. Amazing upset at Daytona today, and there are the people who pulled it off. They didn't work together more than a week ago, but somehow they put it all together today. They call this a research and development car. Certainly, I hope they can remember all the things they did to make the number 10 car of Greg Sachs a winner today. Bill Elliott, a surprising second-place finisher when you consider he had to hit the pits with only 8 laps remaining, but again was able to exhibit tremendous muscle as Greg Sachs enters victory lane. The winning speed for Sachs just under 160 miles an hour, not a record. Just over 2.5 hours was race time. There were 6 cautions. The most crazy was the Richard Petty-Tim Richmond crash. Both were okay. There were 10 cars in the lead 19 different times, and only 22 cars out of 41 finished the race. Let's go down to Sam Posey on victory lane.
Greg, they said Bill Elliott was unbeatable, but today you proved him wrong.
Well, we felt like we had a slight chance at him all day long. In the middle of the race, when I run in this draft, I was comfortable there. We were just looking to watch him out, not show him what we had. I'm sure he wasn't showing us all he had. So we were looking to make it a run down to the wire.
All right, your car carries no sponsorship of any kind. It's said to contain a lot of secret speed ideas. What might be some of them now that you've used them to win?
Are you kidding me, Sam? Talladega's next.
And they'll be waiting for him there at Talladega. Greg Sachs, the winner of the Firecracker 400. Bill Elliott finishes second. Darrell Waltrip, unable still to master Daytona, finishes third. Ron Bouchard in fourth. And Kyle Petty will still be searching for win number 1, a 5th place finish for him here today. Let's go back to Sam Posey with Bill Elliott.
Bill, judging from the reaction of this crowd, you're more popular in defeat here than most people ever are winning the race.
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you what, Greg Sachs run a heck of a good race. You know, he deserved winning it. We just had some problems and just got down there late in the race.
Okay, the problems, what were they briefly?
Well, I had some vibration in the car, and then we run out of gas, and that's the way it goes.
It must have been horrendous for you to have to pull off the track leading the race so close to the end.
Oh, not really. You know, when you're out of gas, you know you're not going to go any farther that way, so you might as well come in, take your medicine, and go on.
Greg Sachs is the new word here. Nobody thought that you could be beaten, but he did it in a car that nobody knows very much about.
Well, I think it's a good car. You know, he's a good driver, so it proved itself today.
Well, I know you'll be back in the winner's circle very soon. Congratulations on your effort today.
Appreciate it. See y'all later.
Thanks, Al.
We have confirmed that radio problems did prevent Greg Sachs from realizing he was in first place, thereby setting up that exciting last lap. I'm Al Troutwig for Sam Posey saying goodbye from Daytona. Greg Sachs could be dangerous now. He knows what it's like to win.